made it into the last block, right? So you're seeing this here, and you'll see match.
Yeah.
But here, it was added. It didn't expect this block. It had no idea all these transactions would happen. So people got kicked off for this larger transaction because they paid $351 to get into this block.
Yeah.
Right? Where
Daddy Warbucks.
Hey, welcome back.
Oh,
to the
yes.
Block
Hello.
House. Sorry.
Recapping.
We didn't forget you were there, right?
Yeah.
We were just looking at one of the block explorers that we were just talking about, mempool.space, where when you go to the main page and you scroll down a little, you'll see expected block and actual block. Expected block is what they expected based off of the mempool and the transaction fees and whatnot.
Like the current mempool.
The current mempool.
Yeah.
It's saying, well, look, if you have a self-interested economic incentive as a miner, right? You're in it for the money.
Yep.
As you should be. These are the transactions that would probably make it into the block. Then you have on the other side the actual block. And you'll say, well, this is what, when the block gets confirmed, when that train takes off, if you go to TX Street, these are the transactions that actually made it in. And then you can just hover over every single transaction and see, did it match? It'll say either matched or it'll say added.
Like matched meaning did it come from the expected block and then become the actual block? And then if it says it's not matched, that means that was a transaction that was new that came in after the expected block was, I guess, proposed or...
Yep. Well, a lot of things can happen. So there's what I think should be a raging debate in the Bitcoin space with all the ordinals and BRC20s and, the NFTs on Bitcoin thing that's happening. One of the things is remember, the mempool is not the blockchain. That's a key thing for people to remember.
Right.
Just because it's in the mempool does not mean it's blockchain. It's not confirmed. You're not guaranteed anything, right? And everybody's mempool can look different. My mempool and your mempool could be two totally different things because it's just who heard me yelling out. So if Alice over there yells out she wants to send Bob 3 Bitcoin, if you hear it and I don't, it'll be in your mempool because you heard it, but I didn't hear it. I know nothing about Alice and Bob.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So everybody's mempool can be different. Nothing is confirmed in the mempool. And people get that mistaken a lot. They think just because it's in the mempool, it's a done deal, and it's not. But you had more questions.
Well, now I have more questions.
Good. You got more questions with more questions.
Okay, wait. But if we're reading off statistics of the mempool and you're saying it's in the mempool, so it's not on the blockchain yet, then why are we reading off? Oh, you're saying, okay, because there's two halves. There's the mempool and then there's the actual chain. And so when we're reading off the statistics, we're reading off of the on-chain metrics. Is that what?
Yep. So think of it like this, right? We already know a blockchain is just a ledger, right? An accounting book.
Yes.
All right. So if you're filling out an actual accounting book, right, hopefully you're not just making this stuff up off the top of your head.
Yeah.
You're going through these receipts. But as far as your business operations are concerned, if it's not in your ledger, it didn't happen. So you as the accountant, you pull out all these receipts and invoices and stuff, your expenditures and your income statements, and then you're transferring the information on that into the ledger.
Right.
The pile of receipts and invoices, that's your mempool, right? There are things that should have happened, but as far as your business is concerned, think of a major business like Ford, right?
Yeah.
They do 90-day invoicing. So if I did graphic designs for Ford, I might do the work, but I don't get paid for 30 to 90 days, right? So the person at Ford sees my invoice.
Yeah.
They see I did the work.
Yeah.
But if it's not in the Ford ledger, they're not paying me. Right?
Yeah.
And so that's the mempool. My invoice is sitting on the side. I'm in the mempool. But I'm not guaranteed a payment yet until that accountant says, oh, there's Nate. He did this work. They write it into the thing. Now I get paid.
Yeah. So when you go to mempool.space, essentially everything on the left side is the mempool and everything on the right side is the on-chain in the ledger.
Yes, at the very top of the page. If it's one of those sort of orangish blocks, it's what's expected to happen. It's the next block, but it hasn't been confirmed. Nothing's official
really,
about it.
that's the mempool.
Yeah.
And then that half on the right,
the purple side is
the actual blocks, is the on-chain.
Those are your confirmations.
Okay. Because it can be a little confusing. It could, like when I go to mempool and I was looking at this, I thought that whole page was the mempool, but essentially it's just on the left half, the expected.
Yep.
The bids, the transactions that are trying to go through.
Yep. And we should actually probably do a whole nother episode on Etherscan because we barely touched it.
Yeah.
Because it's so massive. Like Etherscan actually is its own full thing, and it'll probably be better once we have the video tie-in. So we'll try to do that in the next couple episodes. But you'll see same thing over here. You see the latest transactions. You can see the latest blocks. Etherscan.
We're looking at Etherscan. Just wanted to make sure that.
Etherscan.io. Go to theblockiment.com. You'll see it in the show notes. Matter of fact, let's make that official now.
Can I ask? Are you going somewhere with
No, go ahead.
I ask? Okay, because I've got let's see, 1, 2, 3 more, 4 more questions.
Knock them out.
Okay, so I don't know where I should start, but let's see. Why would you mine an empty block? You mentioned it in the episode, and I was just kind of like, why? Like, if it's a possibility, like, why would that happen? Or, like,
maybe you want to show a message. Why does if you ever watch Batman, right? It's like some people just want to see the world burn. Mm-hmm. There's whatever reasons you would want to do it.
So, like, are you saying if you were, you have to win? So for for Bitcoin, you have to win the mathematical.
You got to guess the number.
Yeah, but if you guess the number, then you're just like, I'm not mining anything. Like, is that...
You forsake all the fees. You're like, I don't care about the fees. I'm good with the 6.25 Bitcoin I'm going to earn for the next 14 months or so, right? Before the next halving happens. I'm cool with just that. So at $27,000 per coin, at 120 something thousand, I'm cool with that. I will spend all this energy, get that 6.25 Bitcoin. I don't want anybody's transaction to go through.
Has that happened, or how often does that happen?
I know that's like how often. There is a way to go look that up, but I'm not going to spend the time right now to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it happens. It can happen for any number of reasons. It's up to the miner. They won the block. They get to do what they want to with it.
Okay, and then when two blocks are won at the same time, like how you were saying, are they both technically on chain if they've both won?
Yeah, there is a temporary fork in the blockchain. So that means there are two real blockchains. So the golden rule with almost all blockchains is the longest chain is the official chain. If you're not the longest chain, you don't matter. And so right now, let's say the entire network, let's use Litecoin as a different example.
Okay.
The entire Litecoin network is unified, and they all agree that this is the blockchain. Then a new block happens, right?
Okay.
But you're a miner and I'm a miner. I'm a rebel and I wanted an empty block.
Okay.
You're economically driven. You have a full block that gives you the best fees, right? So now half the network sees my block, half the network sees your block. Because remember, it's a gossip protocol. Even when you win a block, just like when I send a transaction, I'm saying, hey, world, I want to send Ashley 2 Litecoin. When you're a miner and you win a block, you do the same thing. Hey, world, I won a block. And then you throw out this hash to prove you won the block.
Yeah.
And all the other miners check it real quick. They're like, does this plug in? Yep, they won the block. And they start working on the next thing, right? But with that yelling, because I'm a miner, you're a miner, we both yelled out, half the network heard you, half the network heard me. right? So half the miners are building off of your block as the last block using your hash. Half the network is building off of my block using the hash. The next miner who wins, right, whatever block they're building on, that technically would be the next chain. And then they would yell out, "Hey, world, here's my next block." Now, Alice over there, she's a miner. She hears that newest, but she thought that newest block that just won used my block. But she thought you won the last block.
Yeah.
But the newest miner has me. So she says, I must have been wrong. So now I'll build off of this because this new one is the longest chain.
Yeah.
Nobody's built off of your chain yet.
Yeah.
I won the block. So,
Yeah.
boom. So Alice now ignores, she just upgrades her. She takes the block that had you winning.
That's when it corrects.
Disregards it.
Okay.
Puts my block in its place. And boom. So if Bob had a transaction sitting in your block that wasn't in mine, his might go from 1 confirmation to 0 confirmations because he just got booted back to the mempool.
So his transaction still can go through. It's just now going to take an additional 10, 20, or 30 minutes.
Right. But this is why
More
one confirmation might not be enough.
Right.
Right. If it's a high stake transaction, maybe you get booted out. And it wasn't really 1 confirmation. Because Alice won, right? Or Bob won, Alice won the block and says me as the previous block. But now Charlie won at the same time Alice won. Just like you and me won at the
So
same
now
time,
there's 3.
Alice and Charlie won. So no, there's still 2. One is building off of my block. One is building off of yours. So it's not until Dave wins a block, whichever chain he's building off of. Because he'll now be the longest chain. And that's happened before. I think it's gone
so then
3
it
or
just
4
becomes
levels
like
deep.
So then it's like a numbers game, like how with the probability.
Yeah.
Oh,
Every
now I
time
get
the
it.
probability of that happening every single stage drops drastically.
You
might win the lottery once.
Yeah.
What's the chances you're going to win twice?
Yeah.
You could.
You have literally explained this to me probably like 10 times, and I'm for the first time like actually understanding it right now.
That's how it works sometimes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's
Repetition
crazy.
is key.
Sometimes I'm like, I know that you're making a point, and I know it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense to me. But this part of what you're saying makes sense, but this next part doesn't make sense. And so right now, I'm having an epiphany.
That's how learning happens, and I'm glad.
Yeah, that's yeah. I'll take some applause for that.
You take
I
that.
will.
You deserve
I'll take it.
Did that squash all your other questions, or you still got more?
No, I have more.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah,
We got a couple more
don't you worry
minutes.
about it. Yeah, I know. Just let me know when I got 2 more.
Okay.
So for the SegWit, on that TX street, it wasn't really showing people going into it, which is not really a big deal. But how do you know if it's being used? Like, how do you know if like do SegWits are they ever empty? Are they ever like
No,
people
SegWit's almost never
fighting for space in that too, and people get kicked out of the SegWit, or like how does it matter if you're in the SegWit versus like the main block?
Yeah, if you're in SegWit, you're going to pay less fees, right?
So it's like a standby situation.
No.
Okay.
So what SegWit is? Just trying to think of the best way to. So, if you're in the main Bitcoin blockchain, the non-SegWit portion, right? It means everything about your transaction, your signatures, everything is in the main chain. And if Alice, I keep going to it.
Yep.
As you dive into more blockchain, any computer science, you're going to hear a lot more about Alice and Bob and Dave and Charlie, all the ABCD.
Oh.
Right?
And I'm like, you just really love Alice.
Yeah, no. If Alice decides she wants to join the Bitcoin blockchain, right? She wants to start a node or a miner or whatever. The first thing she has to do is download the entire blockchain. This is a key difference between like Bitcoin and Ethereum, why Ethereum can have faster block times and things like that. With Bitcoin, you have to have everything back to the very first block Satoshi mined. Everything.
Oh, wow.
Right? That's the only way you can verify it without trusting. I've seen everything since the Genesis block.
Right.
Ethereum has that option, but almost nobody runs it because it's so huge and it's so overwhelming of a system to set up. Most people have these truncated nodes that only show like, all right, I'm going to trust this much of the network. I'm only going to download this much of the blockchain, right? Which is, now you'll see a lot of people who are like in Bitcoin world be like, that's the major problem with Ethereum. I originally would have thought that, but I don't know of any problems Ethereum's ever had doing that.
Yeah.
So it must not be that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And it's on the table for Bitcoin as well. They're just talking about not enacting it for like another 50 to 100 years.
Oh, wonderful.
But because eventually you got to keep the blocks, the blockchain size constrained. And
Yeah, well, that's what I
we were
wrote
talking
down
about 6
just now.
confirmations, right? We
Yeah.
talked about 6 confirmations,
Right.
which is about an hour.
Right.
When you got 75 years buried,
Right.
what's the chance that somebody's going to be able to change that? They're going to change 75 years of the blockchain history? Probably not. So you could probably truncate the blockchain at that point and just almost treat it like Ethereum. It's like, all right, we know the past 75 years. So once you're 75 years old, you know, once you're 10 million blocks deep,
Yeah.
maybe we'll start trimming it.
Yeah, like you'd only need to download like 10 million in one and on.
Right.
Okay.
So,
that's what I was like, is it ever going to get too big to where like the average person can't
right.
just download it?
So this is where SegWit differs, right? SegWit is optional block data. What they did was they essentially took pieces of a transaction that weren't highly relevant, like the signatures and things.
Relevant meaning?
You need to confirm it at the time of the transaction, but you may not need it to validate the entire chain. You don't need to know that. You need to know Bitcoin was sent from party A to party B. You might not need to know all that metadata, some of that metadata that's involved in that, like was the signature authentic or not? Because the transaction happened, so obviously it was authentic, right? So what SegWit does is it allows you to store that information in a different part of the block. Think of it like that.
To get more of the like
To get
pertinent data.
more of the important data into it.
Got it.
Right?
Got it.
So if you're willing to truncate your transaction details, you can do a SegWit transaction. Right? That
Oh, so you have to like kind of like click like I want to do SegWit, like I'm willing to put this in the trunk.
Yep. Yeah, sort of. And that you know that from the initials at the beginning, right? So I think it's the BC1. If you have a Bitcoin transaction that starts with BC1, that's SegWit. You're doing a SegWit transaction, which means you're going to pay way less fees. So the medium fee was like $1.43. Well, that's for these guys who are going into the main chain.
Yeah.
For me, doing a SegWit, I might only be paying like 45 cents. I have way less data I'm putting into the chain.
Yeah.
Right? So
Is there any sort of like a so you're giving on something is something else like at risk, or is it like
well, yeah, so I can truncate information. So the big thing in Bitcoin right now is ordinals and inscriptions, right? Ordinal, just for a quick clarity piece, if anybody wants to know it, ordinals is this sort of mathematical concept, right? Ordinals and inscriptions, all this NFT stuff, that stuff's not happening on Bitcoin. It's like an abstraction. They're using Bitcoin, but it's not really there, right? I won't get into we'll do a whole episode on those if you
I'm
want to.
gonna
But
write that down too, because I'm like, you're saying it's there, but it's not there. That would make no sense to me.
This might make sense to you here, right? So what it is what they're doing is they're taking advantage of a Taproot, which was part of an upgrade maybe 2 years ago now.
Write down Taproot.
It was part of this upgrade for Taproot, which allows you to do more functionality in Bitcoin. But that and SegWit, which allows you to shove in more information, right? So you want to put this JPEG on the Bitcoin blockchain. The main blockchain can only hold 1 meg. So most images aren't going to fit.
Because they're too big.
They're too big.
Okay.
but you can cram 3 times or 4 times as much information into SegWit, right? So now I can fit it in there. Except SegWit data, that optional data, is optional. So when Alice wants to start her node, she has 2 options. She could download the entire blockchain, including every bit of SegWit data, or she could truncate it and say, I want all the blockchain data, all the main block data. But when the SegWit data, I only need to know the confirmation piece. I don't need all the extra. Because that's sort of confirmed by default, right? So she has the option. She doesn't truly have the whole blockchain because she's now kicked off all of that. But like these ordinals, these inscriptions, which are the NFT pieces, they're taking up all this huge space. They're filling up 4 megs. They're filling up the entire block. She doesn't have to download all that garbage.
So
I call it garbage. Somebody else calls it a treasure.
So is the SegWit trunk mostly the ordinal situation, like mostly like
these days,
like JPEGs and like the NFT, for lack of better.
These days.
And so in previous days,
it was people who, like me, who just wanted cheap transactions. I only would send SegWit transactions. Like, I'm trying to send you some Bitcoin. You know, if I'm not using Lightning and I'm sending you actual Bitcoin, I'm using SegWit.
So is it less secure?
Fees. No, it's just as secure.
Okay.
We'll do maybe a SegWit episode.
I'll write that down too. Okay. I got lots written down. Okay, should I go on to my next question?
It's like saying, well, in short though, it's like saying if you're moving, like I like your U-Haul trunk. Because I put the TV in the U-Haul piece and not the car, is the TV less secure?
No.
Right.
No.
It's not less secure.
It's just too big to fit in the car.
Right. And it loses some of the benefits. So like my car I can heat. So let's say I have something that needs to stay at above a certain temperature. Well, that I want to put in the car because I can turn the heat on. There is no heat in the U-Haul thing.
Right.
So if I need to keep it warm, I want to put it in the car. So you might have a transaction that you need to quote unquote keep warm. You want that on the main chain. Like all the data. But if it's like it doesn't matter, if it's just like these are my drawers, I'm going to throw them in the U-Haul. You know what I mean?
Okay. It's like, okay, very good. Okay.
Let's do one more if you got it.
Yep, I got one more. All
right.
And it should be hopefully an easy one, but we'll see. So you said that most of these transactions were initially meant to be peer-to-peer. And so so you gave the example of meeting up with you. I have maybe USD or maybe I have Ethereum and I want Bitcoin. And so I have to meet up with you physically. Is there any way to do peer-to-peer that is not physically meeting up? Because that doesn't really go, like meeting up in person doesn't really work well in like a global world.
Correct.
Like a global transaction.
Just remember there's always trade-offs. The simplest way you can do anything is meet with the transaction is meet face-to-face. But I'm about to explain it to you. Okay. Just the trade-offs is what I'm trying to point out, right? So the simplest way for you and me to meet face-to-face, but you brought up an excellent point. You're in Europe. I'm in Brazil.
Or even the next state over or next city over.
Well, I'm in Detroit. You're in Southfield. And neither of us got a car and neither of us want to take the bus.
Or I just
Uber.
don't want to,
Yeah. So there are a couple systems. There used to be 3 that would do a lot more. Now there's 2 that I use, but this is more Bitcoin specific. And then we can talk about on-chain. There's ways to do it on-chain as well. So if you want to do peer-to-peer transactions and not have to rely on smart contracts, maybe you're uncomfortable with the smart contract, there's a system. You have BISC, BISQ.
Okay.
Take a note on that because I got to add that to. Well, I don't have to add it to show notes. This is the block notes.
Oh yeah.
BISC, BISQ. If you go to BISC, you can do Bitcoin. You can do Monero. Maybe you can do Litecoin. Okay. I'm not sure. But that's a peer-to-peer exchange. Think of Kraken or Coinbase without Kraken or Coinbase.
Yeah.
And it uses these. It uses like this. I hate to say this. trust.
Say it.
This trust system, but I don't mean trust like I got to trust you.
Yeah.
Like if you're setting up like a financial trust, right? So you have to put in, to use this system, you already got to have some, right? So you have Bitcoin, you have BISC, and then you have RoboSats. Yep. These are two systems that allow me to go on and say, hey, I got some Bitcoin I want to sell.
Yeah.
I got one Bitcoin I want to sell. And then I just sort of post it up there. You go on there and be like, hey, I got one Bitcoin. Yeah. And you're like, hey, I'm looking to buy a Bitcoin. Oh, you got it. Yeah. And then basically we work out the details. Well, I got the Bitcoin. You want the Bitcoin. We agree on a price. And then we agree on a method of transfer. Maybe I accept Cash App. Maybe I accept PayPal. Maybe I accept a money order. Maybe you can do a bank deposit. Maybe you go buy this is one of the most popular ways. You go buy, if I'm selling you a Bitcoin for $27,000, you go put $27,000 on an Amazon gift card. But when you go to buy it, I give you an email address.
Yeah.
Because the Amazon gift card you can do through email.
Right.
Once I get the confirmation that, hey, you just got gifted an Amazon gift card for $27,000. I know it's mine. You can't scratch off the numbers.
Yeah.
Then I send you the Bitcoin. And
what are you going to do with $27,000 in Amazon?
Well, then maybe I take that and sell it for cash here. Because you can there's a lot of services where you can sell gift cards and stuff to get the cash. Now, I said $27,000. I don't think anybody's doing $27,000 BISC transactions.
With the Amazon gift cards.
Right. But just as a loose example, right? Yeah. But now we've just done that. And for either of us to do that, we both have to put in, this is where the trust comes in. I put in some Bitcoin, you put in some Bitcoin. And
we both stand to lose that.
We both stand to lose where it's painful enough, where it doesn't make sense for me to get to Amazon and not send you the Bitcoin, or for you to never send me the money.
Right.
Right? Because both of us will get penalized. It's one of those systems where it's like, all right, maybe I don't get it, but neither do you.
Right.
That just goes into limbo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if I could ever prove it, I could get it back. I saw a good analogy once recently where it was like, imagine a world where I have my stuff in my house and you come in my house, steal my bike. But as soon as you take my bike, the wheels just don't work anymore. You can't put on new wheels, nothing. The wheels just work. If I don't get my bike back, but neither one of us get to use it.
Yeah.
But if you ever bring the bike back to me,
then the wheels
start working again.
That's cool. Yeah.
That's sort of how these systems work. So that's one method to do it. And the other method is using a decentralized exchange.
They have shopping carts like that in Chicago.
Yeah.
If you take their shopping carts,
they lock up.
They lock the wheels, but if you take that shopping cart back, the wheels start working again.
Yep. Yeah. It's the exact same principle. And then you have DEXs, right? Decentralized exchanges. So if you're already in the crypto world or you already have like a stable coin, if you want an Ethereum and want to go to Monero or something, there are, like I mentioned in the main show, ThorChain, which will allow you to take your Bitcoin, turn it to Monero, take your Monero, turn it to Ethereum, take your Ethereum, turn it into Cosmos. It allows you to do these in a near. I'm not confident enough in the system to say it's totally without a custodian, but it's pretty close. And the same thing is true if you figure out how to work atomic swaps. And very few chains have atomic swap functionality. Like you can do Bitcoin to Litecoin. I think you can do Bitcoin to Monero, Litecoin to Monero. And atomic swaps is a whole nother topic.
Yeah, you can see me.
Which I don't know if ever will take off. Like it's a technology that's out there, but it's been around for years. It's just never caught on.
Okay.
But it's a way to go from one blockchain to another blockchain without using like a bridge, this trusted, where you're definitely trusting a middleman. I got to send my Ethereum to hope I get wrapped Ethereum on some other network.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's where most of the rug pulls of the last bull run happened. It was on bridges. They're not very secure. But ThorChain, atomic swaps, BISC, RoboSats, those types of systems, they're not bridges.
In that BISC environment where it's like essentially a classified ad where you're saying, I have this, does somebody want it? Somebody responds and says, yes, I want that. Is it silly question again. Silly question alert. Is it like super unsafe to just be like, well, just send it to my wallet. Here's my wallet number.
Well, you can't. Well, you're going to do that with your. You're going to do that if you're the buyer. How else am I going to send you the Bitcoin? I can't.
Right.
I need a wallet, but you're going to create a new, fresh wallet that has no history on it. Because if you send me a wallet that has history,
like a
I can.
yeah.
I might like. Here's a huge privacy violation that you're going to do to yourself, right? I have a Bitcoin wallet. I want to buy some Bitcoin.
Yeah.
We work out a deal. I'm using my existing wallet. I say, here's my existing wallet. Send me the Bitcoin here. I send you the Amazon gift card or whatever, which is a privacy plus. But instead of that, I say, we agree that I'm going to Cash App you or Zelle you or send it from a bank account. All of those give your name. So now you know who I am.
Yeah. And
you can see if I don't use a new wallet, you'll see my entire transaction history.
The difference is, I guess I should have prefaced that. What I was thinking of in my example in my head was like I have Ethereum, or like I want to buy, 1 Bitcoin, and someone's like, well, I have Ethereum, will you accept that? That's kind of what I was thinking. Like if you exchange.
If you're going to do that, you should use a decentralized exchange.
So BISC is like from USD to something.
Yeah.
Or from
BISC and RoboSats is you're talking about changing some kind of fiat. For crypto.
Okay.
Specifically Bitcoin. BISC will do like Bitcoin, Monero, maybe 1 or 2 others. If you're going to use crypto to crypto, you should just be using a DEX. But then you got to use, like, again, if you're going from one chain to a different chain.
Yeah, then you got to.
Then you have to have some kind of custodian because that's what wrap Bitcoin and all that are.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, that completes all of my questions.
All right, so that completes the episode then, Block Notes, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube.
Yep. Well, you got them all the things.
All the things. Peace.